Dune, Part 2 is planning to be submitted in an Oscar category for which it failed to meet the eligibility requirements. The follow-up to Denis Villeneuve's 2021 film Dune, the sci-fi sequel continued adapting Frank Herbert's story of Paul Atreides. The epic movie featured Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Javier Bardem, Rebecca Ferguson, Christopher Walken, Florence Pugh, and Austin Butler. Dune, Part 2 was met with positive reviews, which has made it a leading contender as an Oscar hopeful. Per Variety, Dune, Part 2 is now being submitted to an Oscar category for which it was previously assumed to be disqualified, which is Best Original Score for composer Hans Zimmer. According to the source, Warner Bros. Has officially announced the submission of Zimmer's score for the Academy Awards. This comes before the shortlist will be announced on December 17. What this means for Dune, Part 2. Dune, Part 2 score was previously thought to be ineligible. This news comes after a report that Dune, Part 2 was previously disqualified from the Best Original Score award. This ineligibility happened due to the Academy's rule that in cases such as sequels and franchises from any media, the score must not use more than 20% of pre-existing themes and music borrowed from previous scores in the franchise. It was thought that Zimmer's score for Dune, Part 2 used enough themes from the 2021 original movie that it might exceed this threshold. He would still be eligible for other major awards. The fact that Warner Bros. Is still submitting Dune, Part 2 score for consideration indicates that the studio thinks there is at least a chance that it could meet the eligibility requirements. Director Villeneuve has contended that he was there when Hans wrote the music, and he did a tremendous amount of music, and even more bluntly stated, Part 2 is a new score. If the Academy favors the side of Villeneuve, it is very possible that Zimmer's acclaimed score could appear on December's shortlist. Our take on the Dune, Part 2 score debacle. The eligibility requirements are not entirely specific. Lady Jessica with blue eyes after drinking the water of life in Dune, Part 2. It is hard to say whether Dune, Part 2 meets the eligibility requirements. The Academy also does not explicitly specify what counts as a theme from a previous film, making the guidelines a bit up to interpretation. Zimmer is an acclaimed film composer who has been nominated for multiple Oscars, so he would be a force to be reckoned with if nominated. Whether he makes it to that point remains to be seen as the Academy confronts Warner Bros.' submission of the score.